Hello guys, welcome to Dong.
Inday!
This is Dong.
Inday!
Dong.
Inday!
Hello guys, this is Dong.
Inday
Adventures. Angat, angat, angat. Jose. This is Dong. Inday. Can I ask your full name?
I'm Virginia C. Spence.
Okay, before we start, can I take a video on our tour? Can I ask permission?
Yes, that will be fine.
Okay, so this video is purpose of this video is to send to your family and friends. I'm gonna post it on YouTube, okay? And what are we gonna do on
We're
our
going
tour?
to make a tour of center part of Anaheim, the historical part of Anaheim.
That's very nice. So what is this? What's that booklet?
This is a booklet with a collection of pictures and articles about Anaheim, and my caretaker, JR, helped me put it all together so that when people finish the tour, they have a souvenir about where they have gone.
Yeah, and she's mentioning JR, and that is me. We're gonna be having a tour, and I'm so excited as well. And she is turning 100 this year. And can you imagine a 100-year-old tour guide? Okay, Virginia, let's hit the road. Thank you. So how long you been doing the tour?
Oh, well, before lockdown and before I became the situation I'm in, I did it for a couple of years.
Wow.
New group of people had come in, and I created about 3 different tours in different parts of Anaheim.
That's nice. Virginia is taking her ride. So here is Ralph mounting Virginia. He's a Filipino American.
Just straight Filipino, man.
Straight Filipino. Really nice bus. So that's a lift for a passenger that uses wheelchairs, and it goes right here. This is a really nice bus. And right here is our tour guide. Wave your hand.
I've got plenty.
Okay.
Are you gonna share?
No, we just share.
Okay.
Okay, that's all right. Either way, hi there.
Hi. Is your sister coming?
Hello.
Nancy. Thank you. I mean, your daughter.
Excited about a trip to do.
Well, I hope it works out well.
Hi, Kathy.
How about right here?
And this is for you.
I took this off your card.
Bottle of water, so I can. Get a good drink. All right, I have a booklet there for you, and you can keep it. My name is on the back, so that when we finish the trip, you can take it home, keep it forever if you want it. If you want to give it back to me, we'll welcome it back. And so do whatever you want to with this. And if you look, turn to the turn the front page over, you'll see maps. On the right-hand side is where we're going to concentrate. That you'll see a blue line outlined area. That's to show where the Anaheim began. The gentleman George Hansen planned it, and so that the streets are north, south, east, and west. The map on the opposite side shows the outline of the Anaheim today. You can see it's a long, narrow area, and the prestigious area of Anaheim at present time is out in Anaheim Hills, which would be to the right of the map that's there for you. So we're going out to Ball Road, and we will go to Euclid, and from Euclid we will go to the Anaheim shopping plaza where Walmart is. Now look at the picture on the front of the booklet. That picture, the original picture, was taken 100 years ago in about December of this year. And the baby in the buggy there is me. My parents moved to California when I was 6 weeks old. And of course they were excited to come, as many Americans were, coming from all over the United States to Southern California. And of course we wanted to see the orange grove. So there's my parents and me standing in front of the orange grove as it looked way back in the 1920s. There's a picture of the Spanish man that owned the land when it was owned by the Spanish people, or Spanish government. And there was a group of people up in San Francisco that wanted to come to Southern California and produce grapes and make wine. They were cultured people. They knew absolutely nothing about growing grapes, but they thought they could do it. So they hired a man, George Hansen, who planned all of this beginning of Anaheim. And my caretaker that is with me and helping me is JR, or he also goes by the name of Junior.
Junior.
No, Raul, I meant.
Raul.
We're going to give you a new name.
But the JR stands for Junior, but he's a very creative person. And so he spells his name for JR as capital J-A-Y dash capital R. So
Sounds good.
he goes by the name either JR or Raul. And he's extremely talented. And he helped put this booklet together with me. Now then, we're going up over the Freeway 5 into the Anaheim Shopping Plaza. It's very successful for a while. And at one end of the enclosed shopping mall was a store like Macy's. It was called Broadway. The other end was a store similar to Nordstrom's, and it was called Robinson's. It was a first-class kind of a department store, and there were a lot of lovely shops in between. And as the years went by, new shopping centers were being built elsewhere, and this shopping center was going downhill. So the decision was made to tear it all down and build what you see and we're going through right now. When you get to Loera Street, you'll see two schools. They needed to build a second school, and so the only place they could build it was in the same area as the first school that was built, and they share the same playgrounds, but they use them at different times. On the right-hand side is former church and Westmont School. On the left-hand side, we'll go down to the first street, Bridgehaven, and turn in to where there's fine homes. And it's called the Westmont area. And when these homes were built in the early 50s, and at that time, the popular thing to do was bring the country into the city. So all of the homes had to be one floor. Notice that there are no sidewalks. It was fashionable then because everybody had cars and no one would be walking. And see that a lot of the homes are long, rambling, ranch-style homes. Turn right up there. And no home could be a two-story home at that time. And there could be no fences. But in the years gone by, some people have added on to the house. All right, go straight on down, and you will automatically turn left. And this, in the early 50s, this was the Anaheim Hills area of Anaheim. And anybody of importance lived in this district. Turn left and stop right up there at the corner there by that tree. And if you could see across.
Nice tree.
Right here, turn to, slow down so you can see.
Been here a while.
And so the house that's across the street over there is where I lived for 45 years. But I did not live here when it was the Anaheim Hills area. The Anaheim Hills people moved over to another development we will be going into. And eventually teachers and firemen and that sort of people turn left on the street. Oh, all right. Whoa, you can stop right there in front of my
Your house.
house. Fifth page, and it says Founders Park. And the reason I want you to look at that, this is a small park that we'll be going by, but there's no place to park and tell you about it. And it's called Founders Park. And there is an enormous tree there that's over 100 years old, and it was brought in from Australia. And up at the top, the little house was the first house that was built way back in 1857 that belonged to the founder, George Hanson. But the people that came down to really live here in Anaheim didn't come down for 2 years later. In the meantime, George Hanson, with the help of Mexican and Indian help, they brought water in from the Santa Ana River and planted the grapevines, and so they were in production by the time the people came. There's no place to park there, so we'll go by slowly so you can see it. The big hole down in the right-hand corner represents a period of time when orange growing was a very successful thing to do. And there's a story of it on the back of this paper. So the one represents the very first house built in Anaheim, and the other one when production of oranges. An insect came and caused a disease, and all of the grapevines died. And so then they had to find something else, and they found that growing walnuts and oranges was a very productive kind of plant. But when they grew the grapes, they did become very successful for a while. And the wine was compared to European wines, and it was even sold over into China way back in the 1850s and 60s. So since we will be going slowly past this little park, I wanted you to know a little bit about it. Okay, we can go forward. And you can see these houses are all privately built. It's not a tract house area. And they all have some kind of a country theme to them. But even though there are no sidewalks, people today use the street, and it's safe in here because there's only one entrance and exit out of the place. All right, turn left down here, and we'll go back out onto Westmont Street. Tree there that's over 100 years old, and it was brought in from Australia. And up at the top, the little house was the first. And at the same time these homes were built, the Anaheim Hospital was being built. So there were a lot of doctors and medical people that lived over here. And it was referred to as Pill Hill area, or Doctor's Row. And then in the 1970s, Anaheim Hills opened up, and then that became the prestigious area of Anaheim. Here to study the big tree, and the tree in Disneyland is built just as this tree is right here. And I can't remember what they call it in Disneyland, but they studied that tree.
I think it's in Tom Sawyer's Island.
Here for about 3 years, and there was a terrible flood that was worse than anything we've had in the past. The houses were all built of adobe, and all the houses disintegrated with this terrible flood back in about the 1860s. So they had, I don't know what they did, but they had to rebuild their homes. Basketball court over there.
Yeah.
And the big butterfly. One of the reasons it was chosen for that spot is because Kobe's wife, Vanessa, went to St. Boniface School. So she, when she was a cheerleader, and often the girls that were cheerleaders would come over to this area to practice. And now far down on the left-hand side, when we get to the corner, there's a huge Spanish-style home where Carl Karcher lived. Carl Karcher was the creator of Carl's Jr. But when I came in 1953, there was no Carl's Jr. at that time. There was a lovely family restaurant which we called Carl's. But as time went by, okay, and he, right there, yes, if we can slow down for a minute, and you can see his big home there on the left-hand corner. He was a very devout Catholic family man. He had 12 children, and so to accommodate his family, he bought the property next door and added on. Then he came up with this idea of having a smaller restaurant, which now you know as Carl's Jr. But originally he had a lovely family restaurant. But the family still owns the house. Some member of the family.
Carl's Jr.'s residence. Wow, that's a big house.
Okay. And on Madame Majeska, who was a famous European entertainer. But she thought she wanted to come to California and raise grapes too. She lived in it all. Now her picture and story is in the booklet there. And but on the outside, what we see are men that represent the Indian and Mexican men that built the ditches for bringing water into the original part of Anaheim. The administrator of the first park of Pearson Park was on the right-hand side. You'll see Carnegie Library, which was the first library that was built in Anaheim. Now, this is the little Carnegie Library, and you'll see a big building behind it that's called the Museo, and it's all now just a museum area. Now, on the left-hand side, we're coming to a popular place called the Packing House. This is the new place to come. This is the Packing House. And tells all about it in the booklet.
All restaurants in there now.
Yes, it's a wonderful place. It'd make a wonderful trip to come down in that whole area there. About when my parents moved here way back in 1923 when I was 6 weeks old. And then there's another picture when my husband was transferred from Portland, Oregon to Southern California. We could have lived anywhere, but we came back to Anaheim because I had relatives living here. People were pouring in to Southern California right after the war. I didn't want to live in Anaheim because I wanted to be independent and not be close to my relatives. We went up to Los Angeles to look for a place. There was absolutely no place left, and the only place left was one apartment in a new high-rise, so to speak, of Anaheim. There were no real apartment buildings. There were triplexes and duplexes, but the building that we moved into were fourplexes. There was more than we really could afford, but there was not much else we could do. The cost was $70 a month.
Wow.
And I want everybody to give JR a help. He was the one that helped put the book together and has been a big help. So let's all give
Yay!
JR a hand. Thank you. Back in 1953, my relatives would refer to Walnut Village as the Lutherans' old folks' home, and then the name became Walnut Walnut Manor, and but now then the N word is village, so we are Walnut Village.
Yay! Thank you, Virginia. And our tour has just ended. And here is our 100 years old tour guide. Yay! Thank you, Ralph.
Welcome, everybody.
I'll take over.
Okay.
Thank you.